I'm going to read y'all a couple of tweets that I think were interesting in relation to how the Thunder and Spurs series is going so far. The Luke Cornett for Wemby minutes. Game 1, 9 minutes minus 9. Game 2, 10 minutes minus 10. Game 3, 6 minutes minus 18. The Thunder bench is averaging 61 points a game in this series versus the Spurs 21.3 points per game. That one I think just has a really easy explanation. We'll get to it. By halftime of last night's game, San Antonio had 51 points, OKC had 58. The on-off stats for Victor Wembanyama, the defensive rating with him on for 18 minutes and 30 seconds was 97.1. The off presented a defensive rating of 200. Iceman got released and it was a Pokemon evolution stone for Jared McCain. Shout out Pokemon Eternal Emerald on Twitch. We will resume after this series is over, after the playoffs are over. And I just realized Keldon Johnson looks like Vince Staples. That's crazy. My friend said the same thing while we were watching this game, but unfortunately that's not helping San Antonio right now. So in fairness, when I made that last Spurs Thunder video, I did mention that when Wembanyama is off the floor, this is not really, well, that big of a gap is something new, but it's not really a new concept if you watch them. That, like I said, it is an unnatural difference when you go from Wemby to Cornett. It would be like that for a lot of, his replacements, but it also honestly just says a little bit about how this series is going since game 1, because in game 1, when Wembanyama had guards and forwards on him, he looked like the best player in the world. Since then, they've been using bigs who are at times using very interesting tactics, but outside of that still, with size on him, it's pretty much looking like I've been saying throughout the year. His game still could use a lot of work and he cannot just run over everybody, which is good. This is really good for the Thunder. It's good for the Thunder because a lot of what I wanted to see from them in response since the last video has kind of taken place, and the biggest thing was not letting this man just bully y'all. I feel like there's been an energy shift there. With OKC size and then the help defense, he cannot just walk to the rim. OKC adjusted to that very quickly, and the series is 2-1, which is awesome if you're an OKC fan, because you only beat them, what, one time this season? Yeah, this is what the playoffs are about. Two teams get locked into a battle and they get to start playing chess, and you start seeing certain teams figure things out, like how OKC has kind of figured out they have way better lineups. They can run around Shea, and I think specifically when Spurs were up 15-0 in the first quarter, Daigneault kind of immediately, and then for the rest of the game, went to something I was mumbling to myself. I'm going, okay, these defensive lineups, you have Lou Dort out here, you got the bigs, but these defensive lineups don't mean a whole lot if they're not even doing the job, or they're not able to do the job that they're supposed to be doing. So you might as well have the offense out there. And that's something that's just working out for them. So let's have a conversation about swing three-point shooting. And it's just a term I use for guys who are average shooters and they may or may not hit. That's basically it. Alex Caruso from 3 in the 2026 season was 29.3% on 3 attempts per game. Alex Caruso, through 3 games against the San Antonio Spurs, has attempted 23 three-pointers. He has hit 61% of them. It got to the point where Wembanyama fouled him on one last night because instead of just closing out to him, maybe jumping in midair, like Luke Cornett style, funny enough, you've seen Wemby do that a couple of times, he actually fouled him, and that just kind of showed the problem he is causing for them. This is, if you're a coach going through this series and you write down free safety on Alex Caruso, guys did that during the season, we talked about the Celtics doing it, you expect that to yield some type of average result, even if it's not 29%. You're like, oh well, fine, he's probably not gonna, even if he has a hot game, he's not just going to keep hitting them. He's kept hitting them. He's kept hitting them. In game 1, when they were still trying to use the mini-me's on Wemby, he did a decent job at times. We mentioned that. He's brought his normal hustle plays. He has changed this series. He low-key through 3 games might be the MVP of the series for the Thunder. He just might be. And it gets worse because while J-Dub hasn't been playing much, J-Will has. Matter of fact, J-Dub just missed game 3. Obviously, the hamstring is still an issue. Yeah, J-Will is shooting 54%. He has attempted 12 threes. He's really enabling some of the lineups you saw out there where it's Shea, him, and then other guys who can shoot. Other guys who can score. That's a game changer. Little details like that is how you go from a team getting dominated in the regular season to a team now leading the series in the Western Conference Finals. And so on top of that, I mean, we're kind of already explaining the bench point differential. I was saying it had an easier explanation because it's not just like, oh, the Thunder bench is outplaying the Spurs bench. They are, but they are an integral part of just making the Thunder work for this series in general. I mean, they might as well be the starters. There was no world where the starting lineup for OKC was going to do most of the damage against San Antonio. That's not really a great matchup. But now Shea being able to go one-on-one with guys and you not being able to appropriately help because Jared McCain is hitting everything he shoots. By the way, 3 future seconds and a late first rounder to the defending champs. That's still whatever, man. That's not the point. It's not the subject right now. We talked about season-saving trades for Cleveland. Well, that was on my main channel. That Jared McCain shit so far might be a season-saving trade. One of the reasons I felt OKC should be leaning heavily into the lineups that they're doing is because really, unlike the Celtics or some other teams that have big wing stars, they don't necessarily have a consistent Jaylen Brown or Tatum or Cade Cunningham type guy, or they don't have multiple of those. And so the Thunder can low-key get away with having AJ Mitchell play heavy minutes or having McCain play heavy minutes, mixing that into a lineup with less rim protection, and it can work out for them. It has worked out for them. They're not paying for it appropriately on the defensive end. And that's really what San Antonio needs right now. Devin Vassell can hit some shots. I thought Fox started that game really well for them, but they do need something consistent right now to go to, especially to offset that generational defensive gap when Wemby goes off the floor. Because, I mean, when he goes off the floor, they lose so much pressure on both sides. That goes without saying, but I feel like I've watched it happen 2 or 3 times now, and really 2 out of these 3 games where the Spurs get out to a crazy start. They look confident. They look like they feel like they're the better team. They take a decent lead, and then Wembanyama leaves the floor, and all of a sudden, shit don't feel the same. A new Thunder lineup comes out, and now they're back in the game immediately. And unfortunately, Wemby can't play all the minutes. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't know, shit, season on the line, because you go down 3-1 to the champs, you're probably cooked. Season on the line, maybe he just does need to not do the regular rotation where he comes out. They let OKC back into the game and he comes in with like 3 minutes left. They might just have to amend that. You have a finals appearance on the line and possibly, very possibly, a championship. Do not underestimate the difference rotations can make. Ask the New York Knicks, who might be in the NBA Finals. We're going to talk about that as well. And I think they also need to come up with some more creative ways to get Wemby his looks, because, cool, he can go bink sometimes. He can hit a fadeaway. But what's changed since game 1, well, obviously he's not having 40 and 20 games, but he also just is not really getting super comfortable looks. OKC's the champs for a reason. They have scouted. They know which shoulder he goes to. They know where he likes to attack when his back is to the basket. And they've done a good job slowing him down by just having bigger guys. And especially in a double big situation, you technically still have a rim protector behind the other big guy, Isaiah Hardenstein. So they might want to experiment more with having guys screen for Wembanyama, because when I see him catch the ball at the top and jab step a couple of times or just dribble around a couple of times, when you're in tight games or you're playing down multiple possessions where the game feels at risk of you going down double digits, it don't hit the same, him just kind of slowly getting the work up there and very likely ending up in a heavily contested shot. Have some guards screen for him more often. Have shooters screen for him more often. Make OKC's defense make some decisions. Set the screens high. Let Wemby try to get downhill a bit. Make OKC's defense work harder to stop him, because a lot of this, and it's been good adjustment from OKC, but a lot of this has felt like they took one thing off the table and they look half as dominant now. And they're going to have to come up with these adjustments for Wemby on that end, I think rotation-wise and how he attacks, because I would not count on having a healthy Fox. You've seen the Stephon Castle disaster when he has to make so many decisions with the ball. Yeah, without Fox, you really are down to rookie Dylan Harper as a main point guard, and then Castles, who's more of a 2. Speaking of main guys, just to make one more note on this series before we move on, one positive you can have jotted down if you're San Antonio right now is you do have Shai Gilgeous shooting 39% and 28% from 3. The bad news is OKC has adjusted to the strong defense. The man is averaging 11 assists. He's got 33 assists to 7 turnovers, and he shot 27 free throws, which, for all the chatter about that, Vic has shot 25 and Stephon Castle has also shot 25. As a whole, up to this point in the series, San Antonio has shot 79 free throws to OKC 76. Just had to bring that up so I don't get yelled at for not going super OD about the fouls, because that's really been the media talk. But I do that to point out San Antonio has other things they have to adjust to. It can't just be being mad at the refs. They are legitimately being outmaneuvered right now on top of everything. And if they do pass that test, right now, it looks like the Knicks will await, but of course, I said the same thing about Detroit looking like they were comfortably headed to the conference finals, and we are going to address that. I don't want y'all to think I forgot. Literally every team I haven't talked about that I didn't do the elimination videos for, or any series I didn't get to wrap up, we're still going to wrap them up. I want to give Cleveland their props for what they did in adjusting to Detroit. At the moment, they've got to adjust to New York. And yeah, they fumbled game 1. They just did. I'm sorry. Atkinson argues that James Harden is their best perimeter defender or isolation defender. And one of him or James Harden argued that the Cavs needed to play better team defense. And Draymond Green, the defensive guru of this era, came out and backed that up on his podcast. When James Harden was getting fried, There was a couple of things. First of all, if you go back and actually watch the possessions, there were times where he actually did play good defense and he just didn't get the stop. Brunson made a tough shot. Now, to offset that and kind of where I disagree with Atkinson defending his position so hard, there was also times where Brunson kind of easily got to where he was trying to go. There was little resistance. Brunson is one of those guys, when he gets to his spot, there's sometimes just not a lot you can do. And so him not really facing any resistance to get to his spot or being able to actually just flat out get past Harden, there were times where that happened. And Harden is not a good enough defender or a good enough isolation defender to defend the fact that they were just giving up the switch. And that's what Draymond brought up. That was the same thing I saw when I was watching it. I'm like, why on earth would Dean Wade just give this switch up? Because as Draymond Green was saying, that is Dean's job. Not that he can shut Brunson down, but he literally, his job is to be a big part of their defense because they don't have a lot of it on the perimeter. Cleveland is a huge, they're way bigger on team defense, but as far as talking about one guy, that's his job. And then when they switched it up in game one, they took Dean Wade out and went with Sam Merrill for more shooting because they just all of a sudden couldn't score. But then they basically just started showing Brunson too, and now all the help behind Merrill and Harden was mad slow. And that's the part where I agree with Harden. There needs to be better team defense. When he gets put in that situation, I don't think we need to be trying to say he's the best isolation defender and this and that. There needs to be better team defense, which I also think Atkinson said as well. So then they actually did successfully hold Brunson to, I think, 4 shot attempts in the first half of game 2. And I would not call Cleveland out of this series for multiple reasons. There were times they looked like they might die against Toronto. They didn't. They 100% looked dead in Detroit and could have very well lost that series. Detroit fumbled. Like I said, we'll talk about that in the future. But the biggest thing to me is that they definitely did not hit shots that they generated in game 2. They shot 9 of 35 from 3 over the course of game 2, and they were in it, I think, until like the third quarter. That third quarter run the Knicks went on, the Cavs just didn't recover from that. So if you're Cleveland, you go back and say, well, we just did this. We have made Brunson struggle. We've actually, in game 2, also, they started out with Harden being able to go at him a couple of times, so they were trying to hunt him. Also in the second half, as awesome as Evan Mobley has been pretty much since the end of the Toronto series, he didn't attempt a shot in the second half. That's unacceptable. He has really grown into his own. He's shooting the 3 better than he was in the regular season. So yeah, he can't not shoot in the second half. The fuck was that? You're not out of the series, but if you are Cleveland, you do have the issue that this is not Detroit and they're not depending on Tobias Harris to generate offense. And they're not trying to generate offense how they were when we made that video in January and I said they had clear problems. I made a video a couple of weeks later showing what the Knicks could look like. And since game 4 of the Atlanta series, they have looked like a different team. And I actually want to show y'all how. You can ignore the rest of the colors here for now. We'll probably talk about it sometime in the next couple of weeks. But what you see here is every shot attempt from Mikal Bridges in these NBA playoffs. In pink, like this, you've got every shot attempt that I looked at and identified he had scored through some type of movement. And I made this distinction specifically because if you'll notice, look at the Atlanta Hawks series. The green are just catch and shoots, just very generic catch and shoots. He's standing still in one place, gets the ball, and the pink is movement. So what do you notice? This whole Hawks series is damn near catch and shoot in one way or another. Now around here, which is the precise moment the Knicks became a different playoff team, this is where the movement starts. This is where the cutting starts, the screening, the just reading the defense in general. And so handoff, gets a foul there, but look at where the pink takes place and look how heavy it gets. Yeah, I'm going to be wondering for a very long time what it was that had the Knicks come into the Atlanta Hawks series and still sitting Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson at the same time and running these dog shit offense lineups, only to be on the cusp of going down 3-1 and play a totally different style, different rotations, using Cat effectively instead of just having him out there like he's a role player. I've been saying that all season. It's as if they just had a second playbook they just brought out, and it saved their season. It was the difference between them possibly going out in the first round and going to the NBA Finals. And I did that specifically for Bridges. I know that looks kind of psychotic. Like, why do you have all of Mikal Bridges' shot attempts sitting in a tray? Well, 2 reasons. Well, actually, it's about 3. One, it just represents the switch in the Knicks offense and how much more creative it is, how much harder it is to guard. And 2, because of it, Bridges has been on a heater. I can't remember the exact stat that Tim Legler said. He shot it out in Cavs game 2, but I think he said he's like 50 something for his last 70 shot attempts. And it's literally taken him from that one game in the Hawks series where he had 3 shots. And I was still like, wow, this looks like the regular season. Sometimes Bridges might be one of the best players on the floor, and sometimes you might not know he's there. And all of that changes where you can see a small sample for where the Knicks have gone lately, but they have to finish. You are 2 games away from your first NBA Finals since 1999. Finish the job, because you never know what one season will change. Well, that's what I've got to say about the conference finals so far. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and also leave a comment. Let me know what you think about all this so far. Also, be sure to hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.